Jake Paul's always in the news for whatever fighting thing he has spoken about recently. He goes from talking about being in the UFC to trashing on Dana White and then back into boxing and who his next opponent might be. He clearly loves the spotlight and wants to use it as best he can for as long as he can. So, what's been going on in the world of the UFC? Well, stay tuned because today we're going to discuss Jake Paul explains why McGregor Masvidal is the fight to make and other news. First up we have Jake Paul explains why McGregor Masvidal is the fight to make. Jake Paul is constantly talking about who his next opponent is going to be and attacking many of the top fighters in both the UFC and the world of boxing. Recently, he has been focusing in on the UFC, and he really wants to make his debut sometime this year. He has been egging on both Conor McGregor and Jorge Masvidal. Though both McGregor and Masvidal are legends on the scene, they aren't as good as they used to be and have clearly deteriorated in skill and form over the past few years. Jake's clearly taking this opportunity to hopefully say he defeated one of them. McGregor has had 2 back-to-back defeats against Dustin Poirier, and his recent injury during his latest fight against him has left the Irishman out of the game for a while now. Masvidal has a similar story as well. Both fighters aren't at the peak of their performance or their careers, and that's why Jake is calling them out. While many want McGregor and Masvidal to fight one another, Jake clearly wants to fight either or both of them at some point. Jake Paul might be 5-0 right now, but he doesn't want to fight against a peak fighter. Everyone he has had a fight with is either past their prime or not a boxer at all. The UFC is a completely different world, and he could get absolutely destroyed if he isn't careful. Even though McGregor and Masvidal aren't in their prime, they're much better fighters than Paul in any sport. What do you think about Paul's call-outs? Should he fight one of them, or should they fight one another in the near future? Let us know down in the comments section below. And now, on to some other related news. Next up, Nate Diaz shoots down Conor McGregor trilogy talk after Dana White says he'd be shocked not to see it. McGregor and Poirier respond. Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor's third match has been on the cards for years now. Ever since their last fight back in 2016 ended up with a big win for McGregor's side, even after Diaz was winning the first few rounds, people have been talking about another match between the two. Right now, it doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon, but in the future, we will probably see it. It should happen, especially before McGregor decides to retire over the next decade. However, on the other side of things, we have Diaz about to fight Dustin Poirier, who recently defeated McGregor. McGregor himself has been sidelined since this fight with Poirier, as he was injured pretty badly when his foot gave up on him during their fight. We're still working on Diaz versus Poirier. That fight's not done yet, White said. But yeah, I wouldn't count out Conor Nate 3. I'd be shocked if that fight didn't happen again, he added. Diaz saw these comments coming from White and took to Twitter to respond to him. He said something like, Conor's gonna have to get himself some wins and prove he isn't fragile first. What do you think about these comments from White and Diaz? Let us know down in the comments section below. Since their last fight, McGregor's career hasn't gone too well. He has gone just 2-3 in his fights in the UFC and is coming off of consecutive losses to Poirier. Diaz has fought 3 times during the same time period and is also coming off back-to-back losses just like McGregor. We have no timetable on when McGregor's actually set to return, as he's still in rehab for his leg. It should be sometime this year though, as McGregor has constantly been talking about coming back to fight as soon as possible. His next possible fight's coming from Charles Oliveira, who is set to defend his title against Justin Gaethje at UFC 274 in May. Hopefully McGregor comes back soon, as we really need him back in the UFC. Let us know down in the comments section below what you think about McGregor's possible return in the near future. And now Chael Sonnen. Now is the time for Conor McGregor versus Jorge Masvidal. Recently, we saw Chael Sonnen talk about what is needed for the future of UFC. They stated that McGregor versus Masvidal needs to happen soon, as it's now the time for this event to finally go down. While Sonnen's fighting days are definitely over, he still sticks close to the sport and follows the fights with an analytical mindset. With both McGregor and Masvidal not being in the best positions right now, to him, it's the best time for them both to make a comeback in the sport with a fight against one another. People are just forgetting. They're taking Dana at his word when he said he'd never make the fight, Sonnen said on the Chael Sonnen show. Well, that was because Masvidal was too big. Conor's a 55-pounder. Conor's now up at 70, and he's showing pictures on Instagram that he weighs 194. I think now is the time. I think International Fight Week's the date. Let's get McGregor Masvidal done once and for all. McGregor's 1-2 since UFC 244, when Masvidal defeated Diaz with 2 consecutive losses to perennial lightweight contender Dustin Poirier, following his welterweight win against Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Just this past weekend at UFC 272, Masvidal dropped his 3rd fight in a row when finally putting his rivalry with Colby Covington to bed. Do you think it's time for this fight to finally happen? Or should this beef be left in the past and McGregor should find another opponent? Let us know down in the comments below what your thoughts on this situation really are. And finally, UFC star Israel Adesanya sets out conditions for the fight with Khamzat Chimaev. Israel Adesanya has been all over the news recently, from appearing on podcasts to talking on Twitter about his recent fights. Adesanya isn't scared of anyone and is becoming one of the biggest UFC fighters in the world. His fighting style isn't seen that much in anymore, and he's clearly shown that his skill is off the charts. So now that another fight is just around the corner for the fighter, people are getting excited. Adesanya has been called out by Chimov over these past few months. Chimov is now vowed to destroy Adesanya in the first round, which Adesanya shrugged off without a care in the world. Clearly, both of them want to fight one another, but time is the only problem. Adesanya was on the British YouTube podcast, The True Geordie Podcast. He spoke about the fight between Chimov that might happen in the future. I don't have to take him seriously till I have to take him seriously, and that's a guy that definitely I'd like to fight if he does what he says he wants to do, he told True Geordie. Because guess what? He'll bring in a lot of eyes. That's how it all starts. Those are the ones who are crazy enough to make it happen. He's on his way, but show me something first. There was something he did in that fight. I won't give it away, but I was like, I like that. I was really impressed with it. So that's what made me take notice of him properly. At the moment, still it's just barking in the wind, because who's he fought at 185? He can beat a lot of these top guys at 185, but let me see it first. Chimov versus Adesanya will definitely be something amazing if it happens, only if Adesanya takes the fight seriously. Once he gets into the fighting mood, Adesanya is basically unstoppable. He has been defending his title for ages now, so he clearly doesn't want to lose or stop anytime soon. He is one of the best fighters right now, and he has such a great personality outside of the ring. What do you think about this possible fight? Let us know down in the comment section below. And that's the end of today's video. The UFC really needs something new going on. It needs a change, but also needs to keep what makes it good close to its chest. Though people hate Paul for many valid reasons, he could actually bring something great to the sport. He would bring more eyes to the UFC and could have a great card backing him. What do you think about Paul maybe joining the UFC in the near future? Let us know down in the comment section below. Hopefully you enjoyed this latest video, and if you did, would you please let us know down in the comment section below? It would be very helpful. Make sure to like the video, comment down below, and of course subscribe to the channel with the notification bell rung. Thank you for watching today's video. Bye guys.